You see, the funny thing about freedom is that the very moment you try to grasp it, it slips right through your fingers. It's a bit like holding a bar of soap. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it shoots away. And yet, this is precisely what we've been taught to do. To strive for freedom. To chase it, discipline it, master it, as though it were a wild horse to be broken. But real freedom, the kind that breathes quietly beneath all your efforts, doesn't come from trying. It comes from stopping. From ceasing this anxious attempt to be what you already are. We've been told that freedom is something earned, achieved, or fought for. But that's a trick of the mind. Freedom is not a goal, it's a recognition. And it dawns on you only when you realize you were never in chains to begin with. The prison, you see, is psychological. It's made of thoughts. Of ideals. Of self-image. You build the walls by saying, I must be free. And the moment you say must, you have created the very opposite. You've set up a conflict, a war between who you think you are and who you think you should be. And in that war, there can be no peace. Freedom is like breathing. You don't command it, you allow it. The instant you try to control your breathing, saying, now I shall breathe freely, it becomes labored, unnatural, mechanical. And in just the same way, the mind that says, I must be spontaneous, I must be at peace, I must be free, becomes utterly trapped by its own command. You can't force spontaneity. You can't order stillness. You can't demand love. And you can't make yourself free, because you already are. It's the trying that makes it seem otherwise. Let's put it this way, imagine you are sitting quietly by a lake. The water is still, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Now, suppose you decide to make it more still. So you reach into the water, smoothing the ripples with your hands. And what happens? You only create more ripples. The lake was already still, until you interfered. That is the story of your mind. You think, if only I stop thinking, then I'll be free. But that very thought is another ripple. And so you struggle to stop struggling. And try to let go of trying. Which, of course, is still trying. So, the question isn't how to be free. The question is, who is trying to be free? The ego. The self-image. That ghostly character you've been rehearsing your entire life. The one who says, I must improve. I must become enlightened. I must finally arrive. And that, I, is the only thing that stands between you and the freedom you seek. Because the truth is, you can't become what you already are. Freedom is your nature. Not your reward. The bird doesn't learn to fly, it simply stops resisting the air. The river doesn't force its way to the ocean, it just flows in that direction by nature. And you, too, are flowing, but you've been told to stand against your own current. You see, when you stop interfering with yourself, life moves effortlessly. You don't need to push the river, you are the river. But the human mind is a very anxious thing. It wants control. It wants to know. And it's terribly frightened of letting go. Because to let go feels like death. It feels like losing your grip on everything that makes you, you. Your plans, your beliefs, your identity. But that's precisely why it's so liberating. Because what dies in that letting go is the false self. And what remains, is freedom itself. Now, I know, it sounds terribly simple. Almost too simple. Because the mind always wants a method, a path, a how to guide. It says, yes, Alan, but how do I stop trying? And of course, that's the trap again, isn't it? You can't try not to try. You can only notice that you are trying, and smile at it. You see the futility of the whole game, and in that seeing, something relaxes. It's like suddenly realizing the dance floor was never a treadmill. Freedom begins not with effort, but with understanding. Understanding that life is not a problem to solve, it's a process to participate in. You're not meant to conquer life, but to cooperate with it. Like a leaf carried by the wind, or a wave dancing on the ocean. And so, when you stop treating yourself like an enemy to be subdued, you find that everything you sought through struggle was already there. Peace, joy, love, stillness, they were simply waiting for you to stop chasing them. It's like a dog chasing its tail. Round and round he goes, until one day he stops, and realizes he's been running in circles around himself. Then suddenly, there's nothing to chase. And in that moment, he's free. You are that dog, my friend. And there's no shame in that. Because every seeker must go through the dance of seeking, until the futility of seeking becomes obvious. Then, not by force, not by will, but by grace, you stop. And life begins to breathe through you again. Now, what's truly marvelous is this. The freedom that comes from not trying is not the lazy, careless kind. It's not apathy. It's not saying, oh well, nothing matters. No. It's aliveness. It's deep, attentive participation in life, without resistance. It's what happens when you act, but without the actor. When doing happens through you, not by you. When love flows without agenda, and joy blooms without cause. That is true freedom. And when you taste it, even for a moment, you see the entire absurdity of the struggle. You see that the ocean was never holding the wave captive. The wave was simply pretending to be separate. That's what we all do. We pretend to be little me's, isolated fragments of life. And then spend our days yearning to be whole again. But how can a wave return to the ocean, when it never left? Freedom, you see, isn't found by swimming harder. It's found by realizing you are the sea. And once that is seen, all your trying becomes play. All your seriousness dissolves into a kind of divine laughter. Because then you understand. Life was never about becoming free. It was about realizing you were never bound. So, stop trying to be free. Stop fighting to relax. Stop searching for what was never lost. And instead, sit quietly, as you are. Let the muddy water settle. Let the ripples calm themselves. And you'll find that what you were seeking has been quietly here. All along, watching you search for it. Freedom is not something you gain. It's what's left when there's nothing left to gain. You are not in life, you are life. And when you see that, you'll laugh. Because you'll realize. The whole time you were trying to get out of the cage. You were the one holding the key. So breathe. Let go. And be what you already are.